Welcome to the Bodkins Show. I am that dude, Bodkins. Welcome to the first ever live show. Before we get started, I just have to apologize to one, Jimmy, the dog of all dogs, Butler. I thought Game 6 was going to be over. We'd already have the finals preview, and that's why we scheduled it for 9 o'clock tonight. I apologize, Jimmy. I sincerely apologize. I forgot that you were the dog of all dogs. So tonight, I am joined by Mr. Sports Enthusiast, knows everything about all Chicago sports, Mr. Kraig Koger. And I'm also joined by the owner, operator of the best damn catering in Missouri, Mr. Smokin' Amigo, Kenneth. He turns 35 tomorrow, Miller. Welcome, boys, to the first ever live Bodkins show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Kenny was late as usual, so yeah, you're muted, by the way. Yeah, you're muted. Hold on. Hold on. That was my fault. Now you're good. I muted you. Hey, we're living and learning here, folks. It's the first live show. There's going to be trouble. Now you good, Kenny? Can you talk now?
I don't have him.
I don't have him either. No, still can't. Oh. Can you? Hey, still don't got you, big dog. All right. Well, Kenny's got some technical difficulties. He's going to come back. But me and Kraig, we're going to go ahead and forge forward with the show. Kraig, first off, we're going to talk a little bit of Brooklyn Nets. Right now, there's no contract. No contract extension for Kyrie. There's reports that they're not going to offer Kyrie an extension. There's also reports that they haven't talked to KD, and KD hasn't talked to them since they lost to Brooklyn or lost to Boston last month. So what should the Nets do? Are you giving Kyrie an extension? Or are you saying, hey, we're playing this as 1 year at a time?
They have to give Kyrie an extension, right? If they don't give Kyrie an extension, they have to get really creative and make a move, because you can't leave Kevin Durant with only Ben Simmons. Otherwise, Kevin Durant is going to force his way out of Brooklyn. When Kyrie and Kevin Durant played together, the Nets did well. I think the Nets are capable of winning with those two. The unfortunate part is that you have to pay him big money, and he does not play. Even when he's not battling the COVID restrictions, just health matters, Kyrie Irving does not play. He's only played 70 games, 3 out of 11 seasons that he's been in the NBA. So the Nets are kind of in a pickle, but I think you have no choice than to try to keep Kyrie Irving.
I'm kind of with you on that, but here's the thing. I wouldn't pay Kyrie Irving. I would do year-to-year basis. I mean, you don't know how Kyrie is going to react, how he's going to act, or anything else like that. I mean, what are –
But is Kyrie going to do that?
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's going to have to. He's going to have to do something just due to the fact that there's just not – I mean, he's going to change. The best ability is availability. And if you're signing Kyrie that kind of money, and then you're going to sign – Durant that kind of money, are you willing to sync up all that money to two players? It's been done before. I mean, we've seen teams do it on the super teams, but the way they built that team they're not very good. You got them two, and that's it, right?
They're not very good, and the window's closing, and you don't know what you have in Ben Simmons.
Yeah, that's true. You got a guy who can't shoot, who refuses to shoot. He can play defense, and you don't know if those three can really play well together, right?
No, yeah, I mean 100%. And I mean if you played all their strengths, you would think that they should be able to play together. But like I said, you don't know what you're getting in Ben Simmons. Is Kenny in? Can we hear him?
I don't know. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we're good. Hey, there he is.
Hey,
This
how's
is
it
why you're
going,
supposed to
everybody?
show up 10 minutes early.
Well, iPhone, Craig said use Chrome. Chrome wasn't working. Here we are on the computer, and we're good to go.
All right. So we're just breaking down the Kyrie, whether the Nets should offer him an extension, or what would you do with Kyrie this offseason?
Well, Kyrie's got a player option coming up, so it's not entirely up to the Nets, which kind of puts them in a bind. You got to think Kyrie, I think option's 40-something million. That's definitely getting picked up, so he's not going to turn himself down with money, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you're really stuck with KD, Kyrie, and Simmons, and that's kind of what you have to do work going forward and just try to hopefully put some supporting cast around them and kind of get it done.
Would you now there's been reports maybe you trade, and we're going to talk about this team. This kind of leaks into the next segue almost. Would you trade Kyrie for Russell Westbrook and team up Russ and KD reunion, and you got a Kyrie and LeBron reunion back in LA? Would that fit better than Kyrie?
If I'm one side though, because if I'm the Nets, I probably don't do that.
If you're the Lakers, you 100% do, right?
If I'm the Lakers and I can get rid of Russell Westbrook and get Kyrie Irving, I do that yesterday, tomorrow, and today.
Yeah, 100%. But if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you don't want Russell Westbrook, a guy last year that couldn't make a jump shot, couldn't make a free throw, because you got your number two already on the sideline there that can't make a jump shot, and that's still putting way too much pressure on Kevin Durant.
And also a $47 million player option.
So it's just still the Nets are still stuck with Kyrie, the Kyrie situation, unless they offer him.
I feel like with KD, Kyrie, Simmons, those three, there's no way to get out of any one of them. You don't want to get out of KD. I don't think you can get out of Kyrie. You definitely can't get out of Simmons. I mean,
they traded a lot to get Ben Simmons.
That's what I mean. Like you accepted Ben Simmons was moving forward with the Nets no matter what.
Right. I think when you made that trade, you knew he's going to be there next year.
Yeah, has to.
Whether he wants to play or not, right? He's either him and Kyrie both going to be sitting courtside together.
Well, I think he's going to be on the floor. I think he's going to be on the Nets.
All right. This time next year, we're still going to be talking about how the Brooklyn Nets have not really played together at all.
No, we're going to be saying, can you believe what this team would be if everybody was on the floor?
And we've been saying that for 3 years, though. I mean, we've been saying that since those two signed to Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn I think it's sour grapes on both their ends. They're probably wishing they hadn't. They probably wish they're glad they brought KD in, but realizing they shouldn't have been in the Kyrie Irving business.
Well, I mean, you can't really predict COVID, and Kyrie's not going to be able to play half the games, and can't play any games at home. You can't really predict all that. I mean, that's.
And I'll say that Brooklyn, the way that they were playing. They play a way better series against any other team in the East outside of the Boston Celtics.
Eventually, you're going to run into the Celtics, I don't know if they would have got past Milwaukee fully healthy either.
I don't know if they'd have got past them, but they'd have played away. They wouldn't have got swept.
That's probably true. I mean, it depends with how long Middleton plays, right? Like, I mean, he was hurt. He got hurt in that first round. So let's talk about the next point. I hit on it a little bit earlier about the Lakers. So LeBron James picks his next head coach. He picks Ham, assistant coach of Milwaukee Bucks. So LeBron, the GM, has now got his coach. What are the Lakers going to do? I mean, is Ham going to be the guy, or is this just another LeBron coach that he picks and he's going to run through about another year and a half and then get the boot again?
Yeah, does the coach really matter? I mean, was it Frank Vogel's fault, everything that happened to the Lakers? The team is still going to be the same. LeBron's aging, AD can't stay on the floor, and they're stuck with Russell Westbrook, and the Western Conference is young and tough. And I feel like the Lakers are just – I don't think this coaching change is going to do a whole lot to change what's going on there in L.A.
I think you really look at it, I mean – is Ham the guy? Probably. Are those guys going to allow Ham to be the guy? Probably not. I mean, he seems like he's going to come in and be – Giannis is coachable. Those guys that he's showing up with in L.A., they're not like Giannis. He's not going to be able to come in, no hard-nosed grit. He's going to have to be a 100% player's coach. Is that even the kind of coach he is? I don't know. I mean, really, you show up to LA, the pressure is 100%. You championship or bust, no matter who you are. There's no excuses, and your ass is on the hot seat from day one. And I don't know if anybody's the guy for that. At this point, just let LeBron, Bill Russell this thing and go full player coach, and don't even worry about it because I don't know if anybody else is going to be able to do it.
I mean, he already is the player coach GM, right? I mean, they don't have I didn't really feel like they had a coaching problem. I don't think anybody thought it was Frank Vogel's problem it was player issues. I mean, when they built that team from day one, I knew that team wasn't going to work. They're just all similar, right? I mean, they don't have any shooters. LeBron, everybody knows you got to put LeBron around a bunch of shooters so he can drive and kick out. What's Russell Westbrook? He's never been a shooter. What's Carmelo Anthony? He's never been a three-point shooter either. You know, I mean, Anthony Davis has played only about 20 games more than the three of us this year. So, I mean, it's a health issue, and it's been just a unit issue. Now, next year, what are they going to do? Can they add anybody next year that's going to put them like, hey, they're a top 5 team? I mean, unless just health. But, I mean, we're talking about LeBron James. He missed quite a few games this past year, too. I mean, he's 37, and he's been in the league. I mean, he's 40-year-old body. I mean, he's not a young man anymore. I mean, he's been in the league since he was 18, almost half his life almost at this point in time. I mean, he's getting up there. And he's
with a healthy LeBron and a healthy AD on the floor, the Lakers you have to count them in the contention, but you can't count on that happening. So
exactly. I mean, it's almost like a Brooklyn situation, right? Like
we were just talking about. With KD and Kyrie on the floor, the Nets are pretty good too. So if we're going to talk what ifs all day, I mean.
Yeah. The old adage, like my dad said, shit in one hand and hope in the other and see which one fills up faster. Well, I guess, you know what? Shitting in the goddamn hand always filled up faster. I never tried it, but I guarantee it probably fucking worked. So, boys, right now, it looks like checking on the score here. It's 67-56. Heat have battled back. They were down early. They were down 17. They got it within 9 at one point. They had it within 5 at halftime. It's still up in the air. So let's do a little finals preview here and see what we got. I mean, we'll just kind of take it one by one. We can start. Actually, we'll start with the Mavs, who just lost in the Western Conference Finals. What does the Mavs need to do next year to get over the hump to put them there? Now, I've been on record and I stated they should have never been in the Western Conference Finals. It's not their fault. The Suns didn't decide to show up, but they got there. They got there a year early. Now, who can help Luka? I've said they're the Jackson 5, and you can only name 3 players, and I can't name the other 2 Jacksons either.
Can I start? Is that okay?
Go ahead. It's your account. Okay. You're the Mavs fan.
Number 1, you belong wherever you made it to. Don't ever say the Mavs don't belong in the Western Conference Finals again. Okay, can we start there? Number 2.
I said they shouldn't have been there.
One little prop. Just for the Mavs talk. If we're going to talk about it, I want to make sure that you knew there was a champ in the room to talk about this, all right? If we're going to talk about the Mavs Blues. Hey, you got one of these? Oh, you don't got one of these? Okay, just check. Didn't think you had one of those. All right. At the end of the day, you're right. Okay? I got to concede that. Luka can't do it all. All right? The experiment with KP didn't work. We get rid of him. You can't blame Dinwiddie for not being what the Robin that Luka needed. We gave up KP to get him, which you kind of think that that's the package you'd be getting back, but at the same time, Dinwiddie's not that. So it's not necessarily his fault. He said, freaking Kenny the stat guy. I do got some stats for you, okay? The closest game in this gentleman's sweep was 9 outside of the game we won. Okay, we took a 30-whatever point ass whooping. All right, that's not going to get it done.
Gave up 30-point game, too. Had 20 points in game 2 and blew that lead.
Yeah, we lost by 15 that game, I think. Gave up a 20-point lead, lost by 15, something like that. They say Jay Kidd, second half of the season, has the Mavs one of the best defensive teams in the league. Turn around, the Warriors put up a 124 offensive rating as a team against us in the series. Highest of all 4 teams left in the playoffs. Don't think that's going to get it done. I think we all agree there. Jalen Brunson cannot be your number 2 scorer on the team. That is going to be unacceptable no matter how you try to boil that down. So at the end of the day, they got to get Luka some help. They got to get some. Reggie Bullock is not going to be the guy. He's not consistently going to be the 3-and-D guy. Spencer Dinwiddie is Tim Hardaway Jr. When he comes back, you can't have two of those guys. I mean, then you're going to have two guys averaging 10 instead of one guy averaging 15. You didn't really get no better. Rudy Gobert is going to be the guy. You know what I'm going to say. If we're going to start talking about what the Mavs need to do, go get Rudy. Rudy wants out. Q's already said beginning of this year, if Rudy Gobert is ever available, I'm going to get him. Go get your guy. That's the guy we need. Rim protector, big defense, great pick and roll guy. It gives Luka an outlet to kind of open the floor back up for him. So right now we don't have that. He drives, they triple down on him. What's he supposed to do? So really we got to get him some help, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're playing the Warriors, everybody's fucking playing the Warriors. That's just the way this goes right now.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get Luka some help, obviously, on the offensive end. In that Warriors series, Luka was putting up 40 every night, and they're losing by double digits. I mean, I think a guy like Rudy Gobert would be, great for the Mavs. Defensively, offensively, like you said, I mean, even a guy like Dinwiddie, Brunson, those guys can't be your number twos. Those guys got to be the guys that are showing up in the playoffs, and that's the reason that you're winning in the conference finals, because those are your, number 3, number 4, number 5 guys putting up the kind of numbers that they were doing. Jason Kidd, low-key, is maybe my favorite coach in the NBA right now. I love the way he coaches and what he did defensively for him. It's a little bit unfair to pull up that offensive efficiency rating because it's the Warriors, man. And the Warriors, when they're clicking, they're doing that to everybody. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you're a Mavs fan and just the Mavericks as a whole, you kind of got to be happy with where this season even ended, Nobody kind of thought you would get there. Luka proved in that Phoenix series that he's capable of carrying the team a little ways by himself, and now they just know that they got to get him some help to get any further.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I've kind of said it before. It's like, I mean, they got the Jacksons, right? I mean, you have Michael, and that's Luka. You had Tito, and that's Jalen Brunson, who's actually a free agent. Maybe Jalen's going to take cash out, but it sounded like Mark Cuban said, ain't nobody paying him more than what we can pay him. But are they going to give him a lot of money to where they can't add another piece? Because then you had Tito, and then you have you also had, and I even forgot the other Jackson Fives, Dinwiddie, whatever I had him name is Tito and Jermaine. Tito, so there's the other, and you can't name the other 2 Jackson Fives. So that's why I say the Mavs are the Jackson 5. But they're going to have to get some better Titos and Jermaines, because I feel like Jalen and Spencer Dinwiddie are similar type players. I'd like to see the Gobert move, even add another type scorer type. I mean, Rudy's going to get you points, but he's also not going to create any buckets. They need a guy, I feel like, that can get you a guy that can go get you a bucket when Luka's on the bench, when he's getting his rest, or if he's banged up. So I do think the Mavs they're going to have to go out and spend a little, because even if you look at it right now as the season ends, where would you put the Mavs? You probably still wouldn't list them as the number 2 seed in the Western Conference going as the season ended right now. Now, Luka's going to gain this experience. I mean, I thought he looked like a real – we've all been high on Luka since day one. I mean, first day he stepped on the court, we said, hey, this kid can fucking play. He's a dog. And – he's only going to get better. People forget he's only 23. Remember, last year was like, oh, Trey and Luka looks real even. No, give me Luka Doncic every time, 2 times on Sunday, 6 times on Saturday, whatever day. Give me Luka Doncic. I've said this before, if I was to start a franchise today, I'm probably taking Luka or Giannis as my franchise cornerstone players with the number 1 overall pick.
I got 2 names for you. You said Mavs got to have a score, right? One name that the Mavs are always connected to every single year at the deadline, the free agent, finally, Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal absolutely has to be on Mark Cuban's wish list. He has to be making an offer, has to be making a push. Another name I know you guys aren't going to want to hear, Zach LaVine. That's another name that we have to go make a push for. That's great scoring guards that can go out. And you're getting 20. You might be getting 40, but you're not going to – Spencer Dinwiddie had 10 or less points in 2 games of that series. That's unacceptable for a guy that you gave up Kristaps Porzingis for. We go to get a guy like Beal. You said you might have the Mavs 4 or 5 still. What if you add a guy like Gobert, go add a guy like Beal, where you got us now? Now you're talking top 3.
Now you're talking maybe 1. I mean,
I won't say that
know,
because then I'm a homer, but you got to argue it.
Yeah,
with
the
we can't make a push for Sorry, Kraig, you can't make a push for Gobert. DeAndre Ayton, another free agent big guy, great pick and roll guy, rim protector, another guy we got to have our eye on.
That's what I was gonna say. If DeAndre Ayton finds his way out of Phoenix, I mean, some things could happen in the West. Golden State, you got to think Memphis is going to be back up there. But if Dallas makes a move or two, they've got to be right there.
You got to think Luka's going to be hungrier, right? This isn't going to make him like basketball less. This has got to make him want it more. You've seen the look on his face, the way he carried himself. Luka kind of had that what Ja had in the first round, where he kind of sprung on the scene of like, oh shit, Ja's a superstar. As much as we all knew Luka was great, the world kind of knows he is now too, because the Mavs finally won a playoff series. We spent forever. You don't see guys play in June. No one gives a shit. They played in late May finally. Now people saw Luka. They're like, oh my God, this guy. We're talking a top 5 player in the NBA. Yeah, everybody else knew that. The world knows it now. I think it'll help get free agents. You got to think people. We talked about it, but you got to think people are going to want to play with a guy like Luka. I mean, people flock to Jimmy. People are going to flock to Luka. They want to play with dogs, man.
I like the Bradley Beal pickup the best. I just think because he's played with a guy who's handled the ball a lot, and when him and Jim Wall were together, I think he's a guy that can move. He doesn't have to have the ball in his hands to score. So I really like the Bradley Beal. Now he's going to want a lot of money. Zach LaVine's going to want a lot of money. DeAndre Ayton's want a lot of money. Like those are some high end guys that are going to want a lot of money. Cuban's going to have to fork it out, and I don't know what the Mavs cap space is, but I mean, if you're adding 2 of those guys and you want to add Jalen Brunson, who might want some money, I feel like if you're getting those 2 guys, Jalen Brunson's probably, if you're getting, let's say, Beal and Ayton or Beal and Gobert, I don't feel like there might be enough food on the table for Jalen Brunson.
Look, Jalen Brunson types, Marcus Smart types, those guys don't look for top dollar. They know that they're the dog types. They're going to be backups. They're going to be role players. They find good situations. Ain't no situation like the one he's in right now. At the end of the day, the cap is fake. We all know that. Cube's a billionaire. He's going to make that however he's got to make it work. We're at that place right now. You can't go get a role player type. That ain't going to help us. You've got to go make a big move to go compete with those teams in the upper echelon. We got to play the Warriors again. That's 3 Hall of Famers. You ain't going to do that with Luka and even better role players. You have to go get some monster dudes to help Luka out at this point if we're going to make a real run at it.
All right. Right now, it is 72-65 Boston. So let's just we're going to play this out here as if Boston wins, and then we'll kind of go back if Miami pushes forward. So let's say Miami loses. What do they need to do next year? And then we can kind of talk about what their if they come back and win, what the preview of them versus the Warriors would be like. So what does Miami do to say get over the hump next year to add to their team?
I mean, I think one of the places that Miami can get better is at guard. They need a little bit better play at guard. If they could get somebody that could facilitate the offense a little bit better. They play great defense. You got Jimmy, you got Bam, you got guys like Hero that can shoot from the outside. You really just, if they could get what Kyle Lowry was kind of supposed to be whenever they kind of wanted him to be there, they need a point guard, but they need one that can facilitate a little bit of offense for them.
Yeah, no doubt. They need to get healthy. That's number one. You can't go in and play the Celtics banged up. Jimmy can't be out half the game with the knee and then limping, and Lowry's sitting out or he's fouled out, and Hero's hurt, and Bam's struggling because he's still banged up. Like, that's part of it. The scoring guard, I mean, the Lowry, that experiment didn't work. Oladipo in the playoffs this series, this finally worked. This finally looks like kind of what they were hoping. Is that enough to bring him back and hope that he can put it together for a full season? I don't know. They're kind of in that how big is that window situation. So are you experimenting still, or are you going to go out and get a for sure thing and try to make a run on one of these other guys and just kind of dump some salary in the Lowrys and Oladipos? I don't know. Definitely got to get more consistent at guard. I don't think Tyler Hero can really be that second guard. I think he's almost in that same Jalen Brunson type where, like, if he's the third guy or even the sixth man coming off the bench, like, now you're winning the championship. If he's your second scoring guard, you're probably not. Like, you probably need some more help. Bam, man. I know you brought up, Kraig, that they have Bam, but he's a max contract player averaging 13 points a game. I don't think that's just not enough. They're going to either have to, y'all know what I'm going to say. I've been saying it for, you put Jimmy and Joel back together. Let's see. Jim Bede, man, that's what we're looking for is Jim Bede to get back together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you put those two, make a move for Bam, whatever you got to do. I think that Bam's just, he was a max contract guy when they did it. I get it. He looked like a walking triple-double at the time almost. He's just not that guy, whether it's injuries, whether it's whatever it is. He's just not that second. He's not that Robin.
When Robert Williams and 80-year-old Al Horford are locking you up and keeping you down for games, that's a problem. You know, I mean, those guys are good players, but they're not max players. I mean, they're not making Bam money. I'm kind of with you. I'm glad you brought up the Joel Embiid, and they've been, you know, kind of twittering it up a little bit. Joel saying they need another star, and, you know, which they do. I mean, they do. Kyle Lowry, if Kyle Lowry, name a time Kyle Lowry is like, name a big shot Kyle Lowry's ever hit in the postseason. I'm waiting. He was the third best player on the Raptors team that won the ship, because Pascal Siakam passed him up, and Kawhi was the best player. Now, I love Jimmy Butler, and I just said he's the dog of all dogs, and I apologize, but he's not Kawhi. You can't just lead a team where Kyle Lowry's your second to maybe third best player. They don't have that. They need another guy that can go get buckets and score for you. I mean, Jimmy's the dog of dogs. I mean, I've been saying it over and over, and he'll do everything he can, but he needs just a little bit of help, and they just don't have that extra help on that person on that roster to help him out right now. I mean, I would trade Lowry, Bam, and the next 8 first-round picks. I could for Joel Embiid, because you're going to get a chip if you have him and Jimmy, and then you have Hero and Oladipo, and then you can add another piece or two in free agency, just some nice role players. That's a team that could probably win the East, because they're going to will you. And Embiid can play defense. Him and Jimmy, that's not the reason Jimmy left Philadelphia. We know that. We know he looked around and said, hey, there's some, some soft ass, and Joel wasn't one of them. He was talking about, Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris and a couple other guys. He wasn't talking about Joel. So those guys want to play together. Now, obviously, the Sixers are probably going to look at whatever trade, unless it is the next 8 first-round picks. They're probably not going to give up Joel for that, but I mean, anything's possible, right? Like we didn't think we'd see James Harden get traded to the Sixers and vice versa and those type of things. So crazier things have happened in the NBA.
And we know Pat Riley's crazy enough to try to make anything happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're hungry to win. That's the thing. And they have they have that culture down there. I just don't think they got enough talent. I mean,
No. But here's the deal: is in 2022, it's a whole different ballgame. It's not necessarily do they have enough to go get Embiid. If Embiid was a dog when Jimmy was there, and Jimmy and Joel want to play together, then Joel don't want to be anywhere near James Harden. Not in the same locker room with him, not on the same floor with him, not in the same bus with him, not in the same state with him.
Well, he's already said that's not the same Harden we saw in Houston.
Exactly. And this day and age, he's a couple tweets away from, whether they like it or not, they have to trade him for whatever they can get. That's just the world we live in. If Joel wants out, he's going to get out. And if he wants Miami, he's going to get Miami. Now, where they come together on the negotiations is one thing. But if he wants out and he wants Miami, they're playing together next year.
All right. What if Miami's down 8? Now, what if they pull this and it's about 3 minutes left in the third? So they still got a chance to come back. Now, if they pull this comeback out, let's talk about what that preview of Warriors versus Heat looks like. I mean, Warriors versus, the Heat versus look like. What kind of finals would you guys think that's going to happen?
Do you really want to know? I think it's going to be not near as exciting as what we just watched in this series.
I mean, Warriors in probably 5 or 6, right?
5. Listen, I love Jimmy, my favorite non-Mav there is. At the end of the day, the way the Warriors are playing right now, 6 dudes just average double digits. They had no guys average over 35 minutes a game. Steph, Clay, Jordan Poole shot 40% combined from three. As a team, bro, this fucked me up. 70% of their field goals were assisted on as a team. Warriors are playing shit like you ain't beating that team.
It literally is like the Warriors pre KD, right? Just great ball movement, find the wide open guy. That guy's going to shoot a three. If not, somebody's going to get somebody's going to get the rebound, tip it out. There's somehow somebody just walks into another three. I mean, I would think it's probably the Heat are the Warriors in 5, maybe 6. The Heat are banged up still. They'll have a few days off.
Miami just can't keep up with them offensively. Miami can play some defense. They could probably give Golden State a little bit of struggles, but I mean, I think Golden State, it's a 5-game series. Miami might be able to win a game. They just can't. They can't score enough. They can't keep up with Golden State offensively.
So we agree that Warriors probably kind of make quick work of the Heat if the Heat come back and win this game 7.
Yeah, well, I think the Heat are banged up right now anyway. I mean, that's not the way you want to go. If you don't want to play the Celtics banged up, you dang sure don't want to play the Warriors banged up.
All right, so
Wiggins is playing right now. If they put Wiggins on a banged up Jimmy, I mean, what's he scoring? 12, 15 a game? I mean, we love Jimmy, but Wiggins didn't slow down Luka, but he slowed him down when he had to. You know, I don't know if you guys noticed this, or knew this, but Wiggins 15 offensive rebounds in that series. Second only to Kevon Looney on the entire freaking series. Everybody. I mean, what are you going to do? We talk about how Wiggins is the Iguodala. Iguodala wasn't doing that.
Right.
Wiggins is finally.
Iguodala was a great defender, but he wasn't averaging 8 rebounds a game, having 15 offensive rebounds, and shutting down. I know we say shutting down. Luka had 36, but you shut Luka down in the fourth when you had to. I mean, I don't know if Iguodala even did that.
Wiggins has finally showed who he could be finally in this, and he finally got to a team that he doesn't have to be the number one guy, and he can be, the pressure's off of him, and he's learning how to win, right? Like, I mean, nobody in Minnesota, when he got to Minnesota, nobody showed him how to win and how to be a pro, and now he's in, Golden State where they got 3 Hall of Famers, like Kenny mentioned earlier. They got a Hall of Fame. Steve Kerr's probably going to a Hall of Fame as a coach. I mean, and he's been around the greatest ball players his entire career. I mean, not including as a player, coach, assistant, GM. He's been around some of the best minds ever to come across the game of basketball. So he's teaching Andrew Wiggins how, and Jordan Poole too, who's came out of nowhere this past year. So the Warriors are going to be all right. I'm moving forward even after like Steph and Clay and some of these guys get a little bit older.
Wiggins just to be honest, I mean, a number one pick of Wiggins' caliber, though, when you make him the 4th option, isn't everybody going to look good at that point if you're Wiggins? You know what I mean? Like, this isn't Anthony Bennett we're talking about.
That's what I was going to say. Anthony Bennett probably wouldn't have been.
That's what I'm saying. Wiggins was a good basketball player. You're making the 4th option on a team like that. Yeah, no shit, he looks good, but kudos to him. He is playing his ass off.
Sometimes he's not even the 4th option, right? I mean, because you got Jordan Poole, so sometimes he's like the 5th option. I mean, I feel like
kids playing crazy.
Yeah, he
fell into the perfect role for him to rejuvenate himself. You know what I mean? I mean, he couldn't have found a better team and a better role to have to play.
Exactly. Play good defense, and that's all, and lead the. We'll get you good buckets.
Right.
So let's play that on the flip coin here, boys. Let's look at Boston. Let's just say now they're up there. Well, now it's a 6-point game. Going into the 4th. Let's just say Boston does collapse. What would they need next year to finally get to the finals? I mean, I feel like this group has been knocking at the doors. I mean, this is what I feel like their 3rd or 4th trip to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if they come back and lose this game, they've fallen short. I don't know what they would need to get over the hump. I honestly don't. Like, do you just blow it up, or do you say, hey, we got to run it back? Because they got everything you want, right? You got the emerging superstar in Jason Tatum. You got the sidekick in Jaylen Brown. You got the defensive guy in Marcus Smart. You got the Robert Williams and Al Horford, the 2 bigs. They got good role players in White and a couple other guys. I don't know what they need. They've already changed coaches and GMs. Like, What do you do to get over the hump if you're Boston? If Miami comes back and wins this game?
Well, it might be a little bit crazy to say, but I think you do run it back. Boston was one of, if not the best team in the NBA the second half, and came into the playoffs hot. They swept Brooklyn. They played a real tough series and knocked out the defending champions, and now they're sitting here Game 7 against the number 1 seed. They have been knocking at the door for a while, and if they lose this, you probably do feel like, man, what do we got to do to get over that hump? But what can they do? I mean, you don't want to subtract a lot of the pieces that you do have, and how can they really financially get better? You can't go get a guy you can't add without subtracting. And what do you subtract? I mean, Boston they're right there. They're good. They're young. You definitely don't blow it up. You got a guy like Jason Tatum to continue to build around. I think Marcus Smart's, you gotta keep him. You got to keep Jaylen Brown. I mean, like I said, it might sound crazy, but I think you run it back.
Yeah, I think they kind of remind me a lot of the Bucks for a couple of years. They get really close, not quite make it. We all kind of ask ourselves, like, what can they do? Well, just run it back. Eventually work for them. Now, I don't know if it does here. I think if you really look at it, Celtics had 6 guys average double digits. Tatum, Brown, Smart averaged 60 points a game. Al Horford shot 47% from 3. All those things happen. You're supposed to win that series. I don't know how you lose that series.
They no-showed a couple times, right? Jason Tatum no-showed. Game 3 was nowhere to be found, and they still almost won that game. But that's a game you look at like it seems like they just have these games, Tatum in particular, and even Brown. I mean, in Game 6, they were nowhere to be found in the fourth quarter. Like Jaylen Brown missed 2 key free throws at the end of that game went to tie it, and Miami went on a little run, and that closed it out. Like they just have these mental lapses where they just forget like how good they really are.
Well, they're young. I mean, too, to be fair, Jimmy have a game he had about 4 points? Game 3, Game 4, whatever game they lost. So those things happen, too. At the same time, it's also why Jason Tatum's an emerging superstar and not a secured superstar, because he does still have those games, and you don't expect that out of the Kobe types, you know what I mean? I'm not making that comparison, but you know what I'm saying, the for real, the killers, you don't expect those bad games. So, but like Kraig said, I mean, financially, moves-wise, so even if they did have the money, I mean, what do you do? Like, what do you add to that you really think is, okay, this is the one piece we were missing? Like, a dominant big guy? Al Horford's kind of been that, for them at least in this series, but maybe they try to make a move for a real hitter. Maybe kind of really, you don't think that if Embiid's on the move, maybe they try to backdoor sneak in. If he really wants out, maybe they're like, maybe we'll try to make a deal before he can. I don't know, but you got to think if they're trying to make a move, it's got to be a big splash move like that. I just don't know if there's that move available for them.
And if you make that move, I mean, you got to think you're giving up a Jaylen Brown or something, and I mean, at that point, you're not blowing it up, but you're diminishing the core that's gotten you this far multiple years in a row.
So they probably just run it back, right? I mean, we're all kind of in agreement. Just run it back if you're Boston. They lose this. Now, if they hold on, what's the series look like between Boston and Golden State? I think it's a little bit more competitive than it would be with Miami. I just think I just think they have so many bodies they can throw at people.
I think it's more competitive. I think Boston, I think it goes 6 instead of 5. I think whenever you're talking about the finals, I think that you have to assume that you're getting everybody's best shot. And at the end of the day, Golden State's best shot is just better than everybody else's. And when they're clicking and they're playing at their best level, they're just really tough to beat. And I don't think Miami or Boston can beat them. I think Boston's got a little more firepower and a little better arsenal to make more of a series out of it. But I don't think they can take it to 7.
I got heat within 5 right now. Listen, I don't think that they can either, okay? But at the end of the day, my biggest thing is going to come down to minutes. We talked about how much the Celtics have got close, not made it. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, them guys ain't never played in that final series. Now we're talking, we brought up the Warriors. They had nobody averaging over 35 minutes. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, 3 highest minutes per game in the conference finals for all teams. At some point, that's going to weigh on them. You got to think injuries are building up for the Heat because of how much they put on Jimmy and the boys. It's going to catch up to the Celtics too. That's why it's really hard for me to think that I don't want to take it away from the Celtics that it's not going to be more competitive. I just think the Warriors have been here so many times. They're grooving.
They
My wife was
really
saying
are.
the other day, even she said watching the Warriors, she said the boys are having too much fun for anybody to beat them, and that's real life. When you watch them boys play, they're playing on the playground. They just don't care.
They really
just not to beat that team.
The Warriors are playing, and I mean, to the credit of the Celtics, they've gone through the gauntlet, right? Like, I mean, the real gauntlet. I mean, they beat Brooklyn, they swept them, but every game of those 4 games was real close. It went down to the wire. I mean, they took the Bucks in 7, and now they are here at Miami in 7 too. And they got guys that have banged up. Marcus Smart's missed some time. Robert Williams has missed some time. I think we're all in agreement that the Warriors are probably going to go ahead and win it, no matter who wins this game 7 here, because they're clicking, right? This is what happens when they're all healthy. They haven't been healthy for 2 years. Klay Thompson's back. Steph Curry's back. I mean, they're all healthy. Draymond's back and healthy. Like, nobody's really been proven that they can beat them other than LeBron and Kawhi, right? And I don't see them. They're not walking through the doors.
No doubt. I think we're all in agreement, man. You can't be that good and clicking at the same time and expect anybody's going to have that much of a shot, especially a team. If the Heat make it, they were there a couple years ago against the Lakers. You know, they've got at least that pedigree of being there. If the Celtics don't, you know, who's to say that they don't go straight up Showtime Paul Westhead and just start pissing down their leg? You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Well, and like you were talking about minutes, you just can't underestimate the toll of a 7-game series against Milwaukee and then a 7-game series against Miami leading you into playing the finals against Golden State. I mean, that's just too much. I don't think Boston can do it.
So we got one question to answer, and then we'll get out here on this, boys. Chris Landez asks, if Steph wins, does that make him a top 10 player ever? He's already a top 10 player ever. He's the best shooter to ever pick up a basketball. So he doesn't need another ring. He's already got enough. And this one will just be a cherry on top. So, yeah, he's already top 10 in my book.
Yeah, for sure. I think whenever you talk about point guards, you're looking at either Magic or Steph, right, for the best point guard of all time, really, when you look at it. And if you're in that conversation, then you're a top 10 player, I'd say, right? I think pretty much without question. Good question, yeah. But I think it's definitely without the ring, it's already done.
Yeah, a lot of people like to try to throw out that Steph has never won a finals MVP, so that makes him not a top 10 player. But when you're the best shooting guard that the game has ever seen, I feel like that's got to put you in the top 10 already.
When you're the best at something, you're already the best. You're already at the best at something, right? Like I'm the best shooter of all time. Then you're already better than half the other people that have ever played, right? Like, you can name the basketball players, but like Steph's got to fit in there because he's the best shooter we've ever seen. Like, so that, of course, he's top 10. He's in top 10 in my mind. I think he's underrated in my mind. Like, because people just think of him as a 3-point shooter, and it feels like a long time ago that he won those MVPs, and now he's back, or like they're back. So it just feels like it feels like a long time ago. And maybe when Durant like joined that team, it diminished like him and their legacy. I feel like because adding another superstar that they didn't really need. Yeah,
it distorted the chemistry a little bit, and we're seeing that they're getting it back. You know, I mean, the team is built the way that they click.
I think what we're really seeing as far as the Warriors go, and I don't want to take anything away from Steph, I know it's a question, but it's how important Klay is. But really, when you look at it, I mean, I think what happened to Steph, you know, he said it's a long time ago since he won those MVPs, but remember when Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double and we lost our minds, and then he did it again and no one gave a shit? It's like right. Steph's been the same dude for the last 10 years, and I think people just forget, like, take it for granted how great it really is. The entire game since the beginning of time from Dr. Naismith is to throw the ball in the bucket, and he's the best in the world that's ever touched the ball to do it. If that doesn't make you the best, one of the top 10 players of all time, then I'm not ranking players. I'm out on that.
All right, boys. Well, folks, it's been a pleasure. Again, Kraig, tell everybody where they can follow you at on Twitter and everything else.
You hit me on Twitter. It's Kraig_W_A_K. That's Kraig with a K. I share all kinds of sports stuff, and here come as fantasy season approaches, I'm going to be putting a little more material on my Twitter feed, so check it out there.
Can you let us know where we can, if people want their good catering needs, where they can hook us up with Smoking Amigos?
Hey, you can find us on Facebook, Smoking Amigos Barbecue, Twitter, Instagram, at Smoking Amigos 573.
All right, folks. Well, it's been a pleasure, boys. There's only you two that could ever be my first guest on the first ever live show. Folks, this is the first ever live podcast show. We're wrapping up. I appreciate you two gentlemen. We're going to be doing this every Sunday. It's either these two knuckleheads or I'll have some other guests, but you'll be seeing these two ugly faces join me hopefully quite often. I'm going to be on the Sports Buffoons tomorrow, so check me out tomorrow on their show. Make sure you subscribe to the Bodkin Show on YouTube. I'll be also coming live to you on Tuesday with my normal weekly wrap-up show. So here's to the first ever Bodkin Show live, boys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining. We'll catch you guys next time.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us, brother.
Oh, I did not hit end stream. There she goes.
Just having technical difficulties now, bitch.